I checked the camera about 2:30 this morning, and this lamb with the ewe are standing right outside this lambing jug. She had just had him. She was out here cleaning him off, so I got dressed, ran out here, got this jug opened up, and I was just getting her in. I could see a front set of feet and a little bit of a nose off of this one. Gave her some time, and right about 3:30, she ended up having that. Just took a quick look at him. She's doing a good job cleaning them off. It's probably 40 degrees outside, I bet, today. So I'm giving her plenty of time to clean them off, lick on them. I'm not too worried about them getting the cold right now. Well, she's taking care of them pretty good, but the nice thing is this is one of our registered Suffolk ewes, and this is one of the 2 ewes that we were really wanting to get some rams out of, just to help replace that ram of ours, Maverick, if they develop into that. The first ewe, she ended up actually having 2 sets of ewe lambs. So then when it kind of all got put on this ewe, is we were hoping that she could have a ram for us, and she ended up giving us 2, so that's really good. She has a good sized bag on her. I'm giving her, like I said, a few minutes. She's already passed her cord, it looks like. She's just in here cleaning them off. Doing a pretty good job. I'll put some fresh bedding in here, process these lambs' navels, and give them some lamb paste and everything else, and strip out these teats and see how she's doing. And then basically go back inside and give them some time until it's time to feed them this morning. One thing I'm really impressed with is how fast these 2 lambs have jumped up, got underneath the ewe, and just in general been moving around. This is the first one born. He's been up, he was underneath the ewe still while I was cleaning that other lamb off, or the ewe was. But the thing is, I just checked the temperature and it's 52 out right now. And like a week ago when we were having lambs, a couple of times I looked, it was 6 and 4 degrees. So that could have something to do with how warm it is. These guys have a little bit more energy to spare, just being fresh born, up moving around. But with their weights, this one was 14 pounds. This one was a little over about 13 and a half, which is right on average for her lambs over her time that we've owned her. So it's pretty good sign seeing these guys up moving around, already getting some milk. She has plenty of milk. I put down some fresh straw for them. I think I'm just gonna go take a little bit of a break. Got about an hour and a half till I come back out again this morning and feed everybody else. They're all up moving around, wanting me to right now, but I'm just gonna leave these guys alone and check back on them when I come back in again this morning. The next morning I came out to the barn and got everybody fed. About an hour later I came back out and checked, and this ewe had had her first lamb here. You can tell that she has a second lamb in her by her water bag there still hanging, but she was eating grain this morning like it was just a regular day to her, and she's actually pulled some of this hay out and then eating some of it. I knew I needed to go in and get Rachel, because once I got this ewe in the lambing jug and started feeling around, it was a very tight area, and I needed Rachel to be able to get her hand in there to help give it a pull. We ended up getting the second lamb pulled. It was doing great. The ewe was doing great taking care of them. She had a ram and a ewe lamb. So the next morning I came out to the barn, and Gummy Bear was on the ground in labor with her second lamb. She had already had her first lamb. It was up moving around. She's an experienced ewe. Every year she has about a 14 to 15 pound set of twins since we've owned her since 2020. And, you know, she's just a really good mother. These are 2 good looking lambs. This year she ended up having a ram lamb and a ewe lamb. We've always held back Gummy Bear's ewes, lambs, as long as they've grown and developed and, you know, fit that standard, just because she is such a good ewe. She is also the most ideal Suffolk ewe that we are looking for in our operation, and we just really like her with her mothering instincts and how easy of a keeper she is all year long. So here we are 1 week later. We had a little bit of a break in the lambing action. By the looks of a couple of these ewes, we know we had a little bit of time there, and with those 2 that we purchased in December, we knew they weren't due until around February 22nd by a blood test, confirmed that. So we ended up leaving Gummy Bear and Diamond here in the lambing jugs. She had lambs about 9 days ago, and she had lambs 7 days ago. Normally we don't like leaving them in lambing jugs this long, but one of the reasons why we ended up doing that is to keep an eye on them. And with Diamond here, she had that set of twin ram lambs, and she's one of our registered Suffolks. And so we have been in there kind of just picking up those lambs, messing around with them a little bit, just basically get them used to us, because they have the potential of us holding one of them back for a future flock ram of ours. And I just like a ram that is a little bit more, I guess, timid and has been worked with a little bit. You still can't trust them in the long run, but you know, it's a little bit easier messing around with them when they're little like this and just getting them used to you. And with Gummy Bear here, she probably makes up her genetics probably 50 to 75% of our flock, with her offspring right now of our registered Suffolk flock. And so we know we'll be holding back her one ewe lamb because she was born in December of 16. She's only had twin lambs for us since January of 2021. She always takes great care of them. She recovers fast. She, you know, is a good looking ewe. And we really like her and the genetics that she produces for us. And so also with her one ram lamb, you know, we'll just kind of mess around with it a little bit while we're doing it. And while we've had them in the pen, we've also had some other ewes have lambs. This ewe is another first time mother for us. She has been acting very similar to the other ewe that we bought at the same time. She had a set of twin lambs, and she kind of got a little bit weird with them in the beginning, where she was fine with them, and then she would be, you know, kind of knocking them over out of the way a little bit. So we've actually just left her in here just so we can keep an eye on her to make sure that she was accepting her lambs. And then this is a old ewe of ours that we had purchased a couple years ago. This is actually our crossbred ram's mother. She ended up having a single lamb for us this year. She's taking really good care of it. She's a lot older, and you know, with leaving her in here, we've been wanting to keep an eye on her, make sure she was producing plenty of milk and taking care of that lamb, because she has some age on her, and we really weren't sure how she was going to do this year with having that lamb. And with that older ewe, and going into the breeding season, she looked great. She had a good body condition score, and I really wasn't worried about her. But back about the end of November, December, she started looking a little bit weak and worn down, and so that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to keep an eye on her. So it kind of worked that we had these open lambing jugs, because every one of these ewes have had a reason why we wanted to be a little bit more paying attention to them and keeping an eye on them. So what I need to do now is, because we have a good portion of our ewes have already had lambs, we're down to 6 that we're waiting on to finish having lambs. I want to go ahead and open up that maternity area, the nursery, and extend a gate from there over here to the corner of Diamond's pen, and get these ewes and their lambs all mixed in with those other ewes. And then what we'll end up doing is, once we get everybody out, I'm still going to close these 2 jugs up right here, because we're going to convert these over and make this whole area a creep feeding area for all the lambs, so that way they have access to creep feed and they can get in there away from their ewes. So we got everybody here in their nursery area. This was the old area, and that's a new expansion, and basically that opens up that whole back corner of this pen, and so the ewes with lambs have access to that far hay rack, both sides of it. So that way they have that hay rack, this side of this one, and then I have feed troughs all down these panels here that I feed them grain in the morning. One of the things also that contributed to us deciding to leave them there in those lambing jugs is, if I'd just opened it up in the middle of the week and combined everybody, you can hear how crazy those lambs were going, and the ewes are also going a little crazy at the same time. Everybody's running around sniffing everybody, trying to figure out whose lamb belongs to who. Because if I'd have added those 4 ewes to this, they'd have been in there too tight, and I didn't want them all competing for feeder space of the water troughs, and basically getting the lambs and ewes in there too tight would make this pen kind of a mess, and possibly get this pen torn up with them fighting amongst themselves trying to get around to these feeders. And so by opening all this up, Gives them plenty of room. There's plenty of room for the ewes that haven't had their lambs yet. And then there's 3 lambing jugs still set up, ready for them for whenever they go into labor. And then once I get that creep area set up, it'll make a little bit more room off of this area for these ewes, just because the lambs will be spending more time in there. So this is why we kind of like setting this pen up the way we do, because we kind of work by sweeping around these panels, cutting off the area as the ewes have their lambs. So I was really glad to be able to get that nursery area expanded today and get those ewes out of that lambing jug. We probably really won't mess a lot with those 2 ram lambs again, as much as we have been. We'll be checking on them, picking them up about once or twice a week, getting in there, just getting familiar with them. And we really won't start messing with them a lot more like we were with her in the lambing jugs until we pull them off to wean them. But right now, all we really are waiting on is these 7 girls right here to go ahead and have their lambs, even though I think it's probably closer to 6, because I'm pretty sure that one didn't get bred by Maverick, and we ended up holding her out and not putting her in with Sparkles when we brought him in to make sure everybody else was covered. And so we're going to keep an eye on them. We know those 2 that we purchased there in December aren't due until a little more like a couple weeks from now. So we're not too worried about them, but we're not really familiar with them, so we'll just need to keep a good eye on them. But with the lambing jugs already set up, it's such a small area, it shouldn't be too big of a deal for us. And it seems like the temperature over the next couple weeks is actually going to be going up. And we're really not going to be having cold temperatures as bad as we had when all these ewes started dropping lambs. So that should be pretty good for us with these girls. Well, that'll wrap this one up. Thanks for watching.